Welcome to the Senate Standing Committee on Finance. I'm Senator Catherine Young. Today is Thursday, June 9, 2016, and I'm very pleased that we have joining with us today Lieutenant Colonel George P. Beach, who is the governor's nominee for the superintendent of the state police in New York State. So welcome, Colonel. We're very, very happy to have you here today. You answered a great deal of questions in the previous committee meeting with the Crime and Corrections under the leadership of Senator Gallivan, who is here also on the Senate Finance Committee. And I thought you did a great job in being very thorough with some of the questions. However, I did have a follow-up because you may know this, but in the 2016 enacted budget, there was $15 million included for trooper vehicles and another $15 million for equipment, and the New York State Police Benevolent Association testified at our joint public hearing on the budget on public protection, and they highlighted the need for new vehicles because of an aging fleet. So obviously safety of our troopers is a very high priority, and I was wondering if you could fill us in on the state of the vehicles and equipment that we need in order for your troopers to be the most effective they can be.
We were confronting a system-wide problem in the replacement of the fleet that we had, and the fleet was aging. As you know, our vehicles are expertly maintained to the highest degree. Nonetheless, they do put many, many miles on. They run 24 hours a day, 7 days a week as part of our patrol responsibilities. One of the challenges that we confronted is that the state police now purchase, for economy of scale purposes, purchases vehicles through contracts and OGS. And we face some minor challenges in the timing of where we controlled previous to this. There were a little bit of growing pains. We are now on track, and we are making, and I cannot tell you at this point exact percentages of the high mileage vehicles that have been removed from service, but it is significant. We have made significant progress in modernizing our fleet and in diversifying it for service by our investigators and other specialized units. And that is, you know, again, I have to express my gratitude to the legislature and the governor for making that possible for us as well.
So it's also not just for marked cars, it's for the DCI also?
Yes, ma'am. Okay. And other specialized vehicles.
That's good.
Yes.
Great. And as far as having the proper firearms and that type of equipment, vests and so on, how is the department doing?
We're doing well. We did take that money. We prioritized the purchase of patrol rifles, and our goal is to have at least one patrol rifle in each one of our marked units available to troopers and the supervisors who ride the road. The second thing we prioritized was the purchase of rifle plates for our vest carriers, because in the event that our people confront someone who is armed with a rifle, there is a chance that a regular vest wouldn't hold up under that type of fire. So we've outfitted everybody, or in the process of outfitting everybody with the rifle plate carriers. And the last thing that we did is we made a priority of using some of the money to purchase new Kevlar helmets for the troopers. That is something that has not been done in no one's memory. I believe some of the equipment we have is probably from the 60s and 70s. So we've tried to make those three things as our priorities.
That's great to hear. You and I had a nice conversation earlier that in my district it was ground zero for the manhunt for Bucky Phillips.
Yes, ma'am.
Quite a few years ago now. And also you said that there were lessons learned from that just about a year ago with the Dan Moore escape, and you did a phenomenal job in handling that very difficult situation. Based on that experience that you've had with big manhunts, what else does the state police need in order to handle? Are there things that kind of came to the surface during Dan Moore that are unmet needs that would help you?
Yes.
In future events?
We confronted
Hopefully
some...
not, we don't have any, obviously.
Yeah,
right.
Please, let's cross our fingers that we confronted some very unique challenges working in the Adirondacks and the high country. Our communications infrastructure, while it's terrific, is impacted by terrain up there and geographics. And we are standing up as quickly as we can our capability for satellite communications to bridge those gaps, but it's expensive. Continued support on that obviously would be tremendous for us. The New York State Police is unparalleled in its ability to field a large force of state troopers and supervisors in an immediate manner to address these issues. But we need to have the communications and infrastructure support to go with them. We have, over time, on every one of these incidents, we take a look back at lessons learned, and we are still assessing those critical needs coming out of the Dannemora search up there. But we've already identified those as being one of the particular challenges that we had up there. The other one that I would like to see, and I intend to move on, is, and this may sound like a simple thing, our members are not issued fatigue gear to wear. And so our members are in sometimes waist-deep water, high grass, rough terrain, and they're wearing, as you know, our iconic and beautiful gray uniforms. And so one of the things that we would like to do is to get us several sets of fatigues for our people that when we encounter these type of searches, overland searches, and I think in the long run it will make economic sense for us to do that as well.
Great, thank you. I'd like to open this up to our colleagues who have questions. Senator Marcelino.
Yeah, it's good to see you here.
Thank you, sir.
And I read your resume, and it's extensive, and you clearly are extremely qualified for the position. I fully intend to support it. I just have one question. The governor has, just the other day, suggested the stationing of, I think the number was 150, correct me if I'm wrong, state police in the city of New York. What would be your duties in that location?
We have, first let me preface my answer by saying to you that the New York State Police obviously has statewide responsibilities for providing for the public safety of our citizens. And we believe that that also includes New York City. As many of you are aware, we have for decades had a dedicated contingent of investigators down here. We have now deployed 50 troopers, uniformed troopers down there with an expectation that we will eventually field a force of 155. They are patrolling and in concert and in cooperation with our partners in the city what have been identified as potential high impact locations in the city in an effort to combat terrorism. That includes the train stations down there, Penn Station, Grand Central. We are riding the trains. We are in the Times Square subway station. We are down at the 911 Memorial in the Lower Battery. And as I said, we have been fortunate to have the cooperation of our law enforcement partners down there to do that. I believe the New York State Police, as the finest police agency, has a responsibility and a duty to stay ahead, to try to the best that we can to prevent something from happening. And in sending our members there, I believe that gives us a good leg up in starting that effort.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. I think Senator Little had a question.
I just wanted to point out and thank you for everything that was done for the Dannemora search. Fortunately, for the good result. But I've been harping on cell coverage in the North Country, and so often people think it's just so people can talk on their phones. It's a real safety issue, and I know that your cars are out there and they have these air cards to their computers, and they stop a car. They can't always look up who that license plate and figure out who's in that car before they approach that car. So there's a lot of issues, and we're doing better.
We are.
Any help you can help push it too.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
It would be a priority.
Thank you very much. Senator Espaillat.
Thank you, Colonel, for the service to the state and the nation. I wrote to the search committee recently asking members of the search committee to consider part of the criteria of the interview process, the SAFE Act, and the ammunition database was an important component of it, and still they're not up and running. So I am concerned, many of us are concerned that this has been left behind. What is your commitment to getting the ammunition database up and running as quickly as possible?
So I told the last committee in general, the SAFE Act, I have had nearly 34 years of experience with the New York State Police. I was not directly involved in making the law operational, but I am of course aware of the requirements, and I know that this has presented some significant challenges to the state police and to state government. Having said that, I am aware of the requirements of the law, but I have not, at this juncture, had a chance to study that or to look at what needs to be done and the assessments that need to be made. And the commitment that I can make to the committee is that if I am confirmed as the New York State Superintendent of Police, that I will do just that I will make myself fully conversant on the law. But I do not now currently possess that knowledge.
Well, we would appreciate any effort from the department to expedite that part of the SAFE Act as quickly as possible and try to implement the database and accurately track ammunition across the state.
As you know, Senator, there is a memorandum of understanding that the particular database has not been funded and is not being developed.
Well, Madam Chair, and that is precisely the concern. We're playing chicken and egg here, and don't fund it, or don't move forward, or continue to create obstacles. We may never get to that point where we have a database, which I think would be a great crime-fighting tool for the state of New York. That you as a superintendent will make that a top priority.
There's a very different set of opinions on your comments, but thank you for sharing those. Okay. Are you done, Senator?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Next, I have on my list Senator Sedino.
Thank you, Senator Young. Thank you, Lieutenant Colonel. Congratulations on your nomination, your pending confirmation. You come highly recommended, not just from the governor, but from the representatives of the workforce. And actually, in my opinion, that's far more important. You answered a lot of the questions that I would have had with respect to recruitment and retention and the challenges you face, the equipment issues that were brought up in the budget hearing. So I'm not, for the sake of time, I'm not going to ask you to answer them again. I would like, though, after you do get confirmed, at some point I'd like to meet with you to talk about one of the things that is in your wheelhouse and that hasn't come up, and that is you are partly responsible for the implementation of the medical marijuana program. So I'd like to meet with you to talk about it, because while it's still a fledgling program, there is some hesitancy in coordination between state police and Department of Health, and it seems to be having an effect on the implementation. So I look forward to that. And finally, for those of you who have his resume, it's pretty interesting. If you go all the way to the last page, you'll find something really remarkable about the person who spent his career as a cop. You started out as a firefighter, and you went the other way.
I did.
That's a rare occurrence indeed.
It most certainly is, and I have to tell you, over the years, I sometimes question that. I also have 25 years as a volunteer firefighter in Hurley, and I love firefighting. And I'm telling you, there were moments when I thought, what did you do here?
It's always the other way around.
Yeah, always.
Congratulations.
But thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator. We'll give you a little sense of the lineup of people who've raised their hands. No, Marty? Okay. So next is Senator Gallivan. I believe I saw Senator Parker's hand up. And Senator Manzolio, Senator Kruger, anybody else? Okay, so Senator Boyle. Oh, I'm sorry, Senator Boyle. Can't forget about you. So, Senator Gallivan, you're up.
Senator Sedino pointed out something very interesting. Many of you heard that I have tremendous respect for Lieutenant Colonel Beach. I worked with him in the state police, and we go back many, many years. Great admiration, and I do for one other individual who took that course, that started out as a Buffalo firefighter and then became a trooper, my father. So you're in good company. Since we've had extensive conversations since the governor has nominated Colonel Beach in the Crime and Correction Committee and as chair, so I've had a chance to go up, down, around the various issues, as did our committee. Our committee met just before finance. Some of you were there, and I thought the combination of all things, the committee testimony, questions, and our conversations over the past several days, I would just offer, rather than repeating questions, that Colonel Beach is extremely and very uniquely qualified for this. He has big shoes to fill, but very capable of filling those shoes. So I will be happy when the time comes to be supporting this.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Parker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Superintendent Beach, first of all, congratulations. Let me say first, congratulations to you. In advance, you supported yourself, I think, remarkably, and certainly have a very impressive resume. Looking forward to working with you as the superintendent. I wanted to ask you about diversity in the state troopers, and particularly amongst some of the higher ranks, and your thoughts about how we increase our diversity amongst amongst the troopers in the state.
Well, as I testified previously, our division-wide commitment is to the diversification of our workforce, particularly so that it represents well the communities that we serve, and it's integral to our success as an agency. We have what I believe is a very well-coordinated and aggressive recruitment program, which includes a dedicated position of lieutenant at division headquarters. His name is Musco Milner, does a terrific job for us, and he supervises recruiters in each one of the troops. We have an aggressive recruiting effort, especially towards minority persons. But as I explained before, as a general principle and a problem, it is often the case that between the time when someone takes the written examination for New York State Police and the time that we call them, that they have chosen alternate careers and are already well on their way to success someplace else. So what we have tried to do is to begin a program called It Starts Now, and we heavily target community colleges, military installations, with a particular emphasis on trying to recruit minority persons into the agency. We try to stay in contact with them, the recruiters do, on a continuing basis to make sure that they understand that the state police is committed to their success, and that in the long term it's a wonderful career, and that we don't want them to lose interest or seek alternate opportunities. We believe we are achieving some success with that. It is not what we would like it to be, and we continue to work on it.
Well, certainly, thank you for that, and I would love to extend the offer of my office to be helpful in recruiting, and even we be helpful in helping.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator. Our next speaker is Senator Mazzolio.
Thank you, Chairman Young. I appreciate very much the opportunity to again discuss some matters with our next superintendent. We've had wonderful private meetings under Senator Galvin's Crime and Corrections Committee. We had a great deal of dialogue, and I was trying to count up how many superintendents that I've had the privilege of having these discussions with, at least a half a dozen. And I think that those that were the most successful carried the same characteristics that I believe this nominee is carrying, a great deal of dignity and distinction, professionalism, and also independence. I think that certainly that's important for the state police. That this process, Colonel, is to have an understanding of certainly you as you enter this position, but also to give you a flavor of the concerns that we as legislators have about the various issues that are confronting us. That's this advise and consent process. And I hope that as the legislatures of the future articulate the priorities established, whether that be new vehicles, whether it be deployments of officers in other areas of the state to meet those needs, whether it be an additional focus on things like cybersecurity, as you and I talked about in our last meeting. It's important that this legislature work as a partner with you in establishing those priorities. And among those priorities, of course, are priorities of what we believe should be funded and what should not be funded. And that is a question that has been touched on today in relative situations to the SAFE Act. And that's something that, again, it's part of this very open and transparent process of budget making we have engaged in over the years. But let me just say that I have every confidence, based on Senator Galvin's recommendations and our contact, that you will be among those who have served with great distinctions. And Superintendent D'Amico certainly was in that category. Superintendent McMahon, a few years ago, I don't know if you ever served under directly under him. But those are true professionals, and I wish you all good speed in that pursuit.
Thank you, Senator. Next, we have Senator Boyle.
Actually, my question was answered. Congratulations again.
Thank you.
Very succinct. That's good. Senator Stavisky wanted to speak.
Yeah, I have one question. When you were responding to Senator Parker's question on diversity, I noticed you used the word him. I understand that, it's 10% that are women.
Yes.
How are you going to, I know when you go out to the colleges and various places where you will recruit potential recruiters, what can you do to attract additional women?
Many of our recruiters are female troopers, and they provide good role models and good contacts, and we do, I stand corrected, and I apologize.
I'm not criticizing.
I understand. We do make an aggressive effort to recruit female people into the job as troopers as well. In addition to that, there is through our chain of command a fairly good representation of females, and I know that in having spoken with them, that they also remain committed to seeing that the workforce reflects a female representation and do everything that they can to identify people to come onto the job and to maintain that.
Please understand, I wasn't criticizing.
Oh, I understand.
This is just a habit. I understand that. Which everybody will make. However, in the leadership roles, what is the higher levels? How what are the numbers in terms of women administrative and administrative levels?
Well, currently our first deputy superintendent is Patricia Grober. We have several majors on the state police as well. Deborah Campbell, who was a colonel, retired last May, but she had a long and distinguished career as well. And then through our supervisory ranks of sergeant, lieutenant, and captain, we are very well represented. And over time, we anticipate that those people will naturally progress through the ranks and up to increasing command responsibilities.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And obviously, you have an impressive background from the state of Idaho.
Yes.
They lost in our game.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Senator. Anyone else? Then we'll go to Senator Krueger.
Good morning.
Afternoon.
Yes, ma'am.
Excuse me. Just following up on Senator Marcelino's question, so there will be an estimated 150 troopers located in New York City.
Yes, ma'am.
How many troopers are there in total?
We have in total sworn, I believe we have about 4,700 total, and that includes investigators, commissioned officers, sergeants, and troopers.
So that would mean we would be using about 3% of our troopers in New York State to be located in New York City to supplement the functions of
the NYPD as you described, in coordination with them. But there's 35,000 NYPD, I represent parts in New York City. So my question is, since I've been here in the Senate, I frequently hear my colleagues from outside of New York City say how much they would love to have more troopers available in their counties, and they name specific issues that they have concerns about. But I actually don't think the residents of New York City have felt a lack of access to the state police for whatever reason might come up. And again, the numbers ratio seems, I have a concern that that would not necessarily be the best use of your people given the demands of the rest of the state. I'm just wondering, what do you think about that?
Our assignment of people to New York City has not come through diminishing our representation upstate. These were positions that were funded to the New York State Police through the legislature and the governor, specific to this mission. So, in fact, our total number has increased. Our total sworn number has increased to reflect that, and of course to handle our attrition needs as well, to keep us ahead of the loss of our people. But those are separately funded positions above and beyond. So we have not had to draw down any of our commitment to our basic policing and investigatory missions upstate.
So when I go back to this year's budget, I know Kathy and I should have it memorized, but I personally don't have a whole lot memorized. I'm working on it. There was actually a supplemental line item within your budget for 150 troopers located in New York City.
That I
Yes.
can't speak to
Yes, it
specifically,
was.
but I believe it was.
Yes.
Yes.
Do you happen to know what the rental cost is on the new facilities that are going to have being rented and relocated in North Manhattan?
I do not.
You do not know. And since our senators earlier, was there a supplemental budget item for that new
For
facility?
the capital, I believe there was, but I couldn't tell you how much it is.
Thank you. There was recently a situation where, again, you have not been in charge, you're going to take this position on. 3 scientists were fired from the police lab for objecting to a change in the protocol for DNA testing. I'm wondering, and now they've sued, I'm wondering what the status of that situation is, do you know?
I do not know the specifics on that. My duties in uniform and field command did not make me knowledgeable about that situation in its entirety. I have dealt with other situations at the Forensic Investigation Center and have addressed problems as they have occurred, but I do not have any specific knowledge about the true or real situation.
But you would agree that continued oversight is important for ensuring that the correct protocols are being used and people aren't getting pressured?
I cannot tell you how I supervised and helped conduct a 2-year investigation into a very similar problem related to one of our forensic scientists. The potential for damage to the criminal justice community is absolutely endless. We employ, I believe, a very, very good system of accountability and checks and balances. When we do confront a problem, our priority is to contain it, obviously to investigate the problem, to immediately address the concerns that cause this, to discipline where appropriate, hold people accountable, and then when it's appropriate to remediate so that we can put some of these people back to work who are very talented and cost us, frankly, a lot of money to fund. So
I was actually looking up a report I remember reading a few years ago that was written by Attorney General in Tacoma upon, I guess, investigations of some issues that were raised in earlier generation state police. So his recommendation, I was kind of curious whether these are implemented now under Governor Cuomo, that a governor should not be able to make political appointments to the state police. Only you would make those appointments. Is that the understanding that we follow today?
Absolutely.
And who do you directly report to?
I report to the Deputy Secretary of Public Safety,
Who's who? I'm sorry.
Rachel Small.
And the Attorney General at the time, now Governor, had recommended that that person actually have police background. Do you happen to know if she does?
I do not.
FBI. If I may, Madam Chair, her background, she came from the FBI to the Deputy Secretary position.
Thank you. I just going down the recommendations. Would it be continuing policy in the state police that nobody is sanitizing reports by request of an outside entity?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Can you speak just a little bit about it?
I'm sorry, Senator. Yeah, I'm just reading the recommendations from Attorney General Andrew Cuomo's report recommending protocols for the state police. So one was making sure that official reports are never altered or sanitized outside the normal course of business, and that's still continuing policy.
Yes, in fact, our existing records management system, which is Spectrum Justice, is once someone enters into that and wants to edit a report, there's a very clear audit trail which identifies for us who went in, and that is typically a supervisor who goes in and directs that some corrections be made to a report, which happens on a frequent basis. But it gives us a very, very clear audit trail as to who touches any document that's created and kept in the normal course of business for the New York State Police.
And do the state police function as drivers for any elected officials at this point?
Only the Protective Services Unit, whose function is to protect the governor and visiting dignitaries in the state, and that's it.
But not other staff or something like that?
No.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you.
I just had one more question. I wanted to get your thoughts on school resource officers.
We were very fortunate for a time to have 105 school resource officers in the state, going back years. I have to tell you,
I'm not familiar with the term. What did they do?
they were troopers who were actually assigned to schools throughout the state at the request of school districts. Frequently it was a high school, sometimes a middle school. And that was actually their place of work. They went there each day to provide a police presence in that facility and to interact with the students who were there and the staff and the teachers. I have to tell you that was a wildly popular program.
Yes.
But going back years, because of budget constraints, we had to make assessments as to whether or not we could maintain the school resource officer program or have to shift those people back onto patrol. And unfortunately, at the time, we had to do that. What we have tried to do in the interim to recover that is we encourage our troopers and our supervisors, particularly in light of some of the active shooter problems that we've had in the country, to frequently visit the schools. We make the supervisors responsible for knowing the staff and the principals at the schools and also the district safety plans. All of our vehicles are now equipped on a database with the actual school plans in the event that we have to respond. But we have not been able to stand back up because of our, as I said, they were removed for budget some years ago.
Obviously, public safety is the primary concern, but, down the road, if you're graduating more academies and we could put more troopers into the program, I know that the schools around the state, as you said, wildly popular, they would so appreciate it. And they serve as great mentors to the children. They provide safety on site, and it's just a wonderful thing. So, thank you. Any other? Okay. Well,
Move the nomination.
Second.
so Senator Marcelino moves, Senator Galvin seconds, and Senator Elsa Thompson would like to add her voice, as would Senator Kennedy, everyone. So, all in favor of Lieutenant Colonel George P. Beach as Superintendent of the New York State Police signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any negative votes? Congratulations.